Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to Cruises for Solos, the Cruise Amigos show. And to introduce everybody, the guy in the orange shirt down there with the baby grand piano in the background, that's John Reitmeyer. He's up in Minnesota. He's a gentleman beet farmer. He's been growing beets for 4 generations or something silly like that. And then the guy over there with a little bit of a lack of hair on top, that's Pete Hall. He's over there in London. He talks funny. And then we have an absolutely fabulous special guest today is Pam Hoffee, who's with Avalon Waterways and a whole bunch of other stuff, which we'll get to talk about. And if you're new to this channel, welcome to the show. We do this every Sunday at this time, and we have interesting guests. And as always, it's just a delight for me to introduce Pam. And Pam, welcome aboard.
Well, thank you very much. It was such a treat to be asked to join you, and it was just a couple days ago that we pulled this off, and I got to do my hair and put on a little makeup on a Sunday, and I never do that. So when I go to the grocery store later, they're going to be shocked and not recognize me. So it's a glamour Sunday here in my house in Denver.
Now, see, I get up every day and do my hair and makeup.
Do you? I can tell, Chili. It's apparent. Yeah.
Pam is actually the Chief Operating Officer of Globus family of brands and managing director of Avalon Waterways. And that's a river cruise company that's we're going to learn about today. So, and you guys, I admit, I know very little about river cruising. It's not been one of my strong suits ever. So I am so excited about it.
Well,
Pam.
I am excited to have people who don't know that much about river cruising to talk to and to share. You know, you all have told me your passion for cruising and that you do a lot of ocean cruising, and river cruising is, you know, so different from ocean. The word cruising is probably the main similarity, quite honestly, and that we're on water, obviously. You know, I started my career in ocean cruising, so I have spent a lot of time on the seas as well as on the rivers, and there are huge differences. And so we can talk about some of those differences and hopefully give you some spark to come on the rivers with us and some of the audience as well. I saw a couple of names pop up of people who I know have sailed with Avalon. So I know we've got some Avalon fans here watching, so that's exciting also. Bethany, I've seen lots of your posts, and I know you went to the Mekong in March-ish. I loved following your photos, and that's one of my favorite cruises, so it's great to have you here. And you've been to Europe, I think, a few times too, so yeah, it's great. It's great to have so many fans in the audience. So hopefully they'll chime in and tell you what I'm saying is true.
Fantastic.
Part of the Globus overall corporate structure, which you've got a bunch of companies, but the Avalon Waterways is one. You started off with one ship, way back in like 2004.
That's exactly
Tell us
right.
about your ships now. How many and whatnot.
Well, if I can, I actually want to give a little bit of a history of Globus, you know, just to even take it back a little bit further. So the company started in 1928. So we're talking a very long-standing company that's family-owned and still by the same families that started the gentleman who started the company actually started it by buying a boat, which is so funny as a historical start, to take people across Lake Lugano in Switzerland. So that was the start of Globus Family Brands in 1928. And then the company just grew to touring in Europe and then touring worldwide with the brands Globus and Cosmos. And then in 2004, the brand Avalon, as well as a independent travel brand called Monograms, were started. And Avalon, as you said, with one ship. And now we have 14 ships in Europe and 2 ships on the Mekong. So we have 16 of our own ships, and then we charter space on ships in the Galapagos, on the Amazon, in India, and also in Egypt now. That's our latest destination. So sailing all over the world, but predominantly in Europe and in Southeast Asia with our own ships.
And you get to go all these neat places.
I have
from
been very
Denver.
fortunate to go to a lot of these neat places. I haven't been everywhere yet, so I still have a big bucket list for sure of places to go. But I was really lucky in my life before starting with Globus. So I've been with Globus for 17 years. And before that, I was with an organization called Semester at Sea, which is a program where college students travel around the world on the oceans. And I did that quite a few times, as well as with a cruise line that was their sister company. So yeah, I've gotten to see my fair share. And with Avalon and Globus, I have done quite a bit. I've been very fortunate to travel a lot.
When you get out now on your own products, how well known are you, or can you incognito just a little bit, or do they know you're on board?
So the crew know I'm on board for sure. Yeah, that's not incognito. Guests typically figure it out relatively quickly because the crew are talking to me, and I also introduce myself. I say who I am. I don't believe there are a lot of people who try to travel incognito who are in the travel industry and don't say who they are necessarily. But for me, if you were to Google me, that's really thankfully all that shows up about me is that I work for this company. So no, I would never deny it. Plus, I'm so proud of this company. I want people to know who I work for and to give me their feedback, of course.
Do you have any plans, Pam, as Bethany's asked, to sail on the Douro River? Do you have any plans?
So we have been looking at the Douro for quite a while. It's definitely on our list. It's on my list too. So as I said, I've got a list. The challenge there for us has been to build one of our panorama class ships. So since 2011, we built our first panorama class ship, and we have now built all of our ships in that style. And that's one of the main things people love about Avalon Waterways are these panorama suites, which is our kind of trademark cabin. There it is. And that is 80% of our staterooms are that cabin. It's 200 square feet, which is very large for river cruising, 30% larger than the industry standard. And what makes it so special is that window. It's 11 feet wide, so your entire suite has wall-to-wall, floor-to-ceiling window that opens 7 feet and allows you to turn your stateroom into a balcony when you want it. And that bed facing the view is the other thing. And we haven't really gotten into the big differences between ocean and river cruising, but the views is the big difference. I mean, I love a sea view as much as anyone, but a river view and all the different things that you see as you're sailing down the river are pretty amazing. Just the ever-changing landscape, vineyards, cities like that was from Budapest. Those are not photoshopped, by the way. Those are real photos taken while we were doing the christening of the Envision in Budapest last year. So that's what we need to have in order to put a ship on the Douro. I kind of lost track of where I started this question.
Well,
and
I've got a question, Pam.
If we can get there, we will have the Douro.
When do you hope to restart river cruising? Because in the UK, they've announced that we can go river cruising now. When are you hoping that Avalon Waterways can actually restart their river cruising?
Yeah, so luckily river cruising has restarted in Europe. Companies that rely predominantly on European guests have been able to restart cruising. And so the European Union has mostly, and it does vary by country, but most countries have designated that river cruise ships are more equal to hotels versus big ship cruising, and have accepted the assurance plans, the plans that we've put in place for health and safety practices. And so ships have started sailing predominantly with, or all with European guests, I shouldn't say predominantly, mostly with Germans, all throughout Europe. So that is happening already. For us, we sell mostly in the North American market. We have a huge range of nationalities on board, but all from the English-speaking market. So it's mostly North America, followed by Australasia, so Australia, New Zealand, and then the UK is in terms of our volumes from where we source our guests. So we really need people from the US to be able to travel, and the airlift coming from Canada as well. Canadians can go to Europe now too. So once that happens, we'll be able to start sailing again. We have all of our plans in place. We feel very confident that river cruising is safe and that we have the plans in place to restart. But the situation in the U.S. I don't think we're quite there to get that up and opened yet. I think the European Union's just watching that, and will make those changes when they can. So,
have you got a date? Sorry, Chili. Have you got a date for Europe?
do we have a date? It'll depend on when they open the borders.
Okay.
So yeah, we don't have a date. We have a date that we have suspended operations through. So I can say that we have suspended our operations at this point through September 30th, and we're reviewing October, and we'll be making an announcement about October relatively soon. We were the first, or one of the first, I should say, river cruise lines to suspend operations back in March. And we were very fast to make the decision to suspend operations through the end of June when we first did suspend operations. So we felt pretty certain at that point that it was realistic that we weren't going to be able to operate through June. And that was really just so that our guests weren't kind of hanging on and wondering. And our goal has always been that we're making decisions early so people know what's happening, giving them choices so that they can make plans to hopefully sail with us later in this year or next year even, with our peace of mind plan that allows them to move. And they can also get a refund if they choose to do that. But our goal is to try to give a little bit extra so they stay with us and sail with us next year and take that vacation that they plan to take. They obviously booked it because they want to travel. So.
Oh yeah.
I know you could never tell that I'm a big fat guy. So obviously, one of the important things to do with any kind of cruise I go on is food. You're a little different on food than many cruises, I understand. Tell us about that.
So, well, I don't know in terms of how different. There were, I should say, buffets, just like any cruise line had. I did think that that's going to be different when we start sailing again. The buffets will either be with cruise service or it'll be changed to a la carte menu service. But our food is certainly plentiful, tons of variety on river cruises because we're very destination focused. A lot of our food on board is focused on the destination, but we always have all of the favorites that people have at home as well. So if you're ever on board and you don't love all of the choices that are on the menu, we always have a standing option of a tenderloin steak, a chicken breast, a piece of salmon. So all sorts of options. We do actually have a lot of healthy choices as well. So I don't know if that's what you were referring to, that you saw our Avalon Fresh concept and were worried that was all we had on board.
But I'm surprised on what's a typical capacity of the European riverboats?
So they're 128 is our smaller. So we have two size ships. We have 128 and we have 166.
Okay.
And so the average then comes at 150 when it's weighted for this, how many we have that are 166 and how many are 128. Bethany's asking the question of, will we limit the number of guests on each ship? And at this point, no, we're not planning to. We're able to sail with the full capacity potentially. There's social distancing that's required, and we have plans in place to do that. We don't really need to limit capacity for this year. We've allowed guests who want to change their sailings to next year to do that, and they've taken advantage of that. So we don't need to limit capacity. It's done for itself. So there isn't really a challenge. The question about will October be made by the end of July? Yes, it will be made by the end of July. I expect a decision potentially as early as tomorrow. So
not live now then, Pam.
No, not live now.
Damn, we could have got that exclusive, couldn't we? Breaking news, because things change. I don't know. I've got to say, everyone, I've got to have a big shout out, by the way, to Sue Bryant. She's the cruise editor of the Times and Sunday Times, Pam, and she was one of our guests 2 weeks ago. And yesterday, I saw her. She posted from the airport flying to Spain for her holiday, which is wonderful. I was so happy for her. I don't know if it was work. I don't know whether it was fun. And by the time she landed, the British government had changed the rules, and it now means that she has to self-isolate in the UK for 2 weeks when she comes back.
Poor Sue. Yeah,
So Sue,
I've met Sue a few times, so I feel sorry for her that she has to do that. But hopefully, it was a vacation to Spain, and
it
she's
is
getting
now.
plenty of relaxation. And then when she gets back, that self isolation will have been it'll be worth it, right?
I guess you could be reporting live.
She
Yeah.
can scramble now for all 2 weeks. So let's go back to the food. We were talking about,
Yes.
I heard the word buffets and
Mhm.
about 150 people. So do you kind of plan ahead then? Does a guest plan ahead, or do I have the freedom to, or is it a noontime buffet and then the meal is kind of fixed at dinner time, meaning supper?
Yeah, so under our normal circumstances, breakfast and lunch are buffets, and we have a couple of different venues. For breakfast is in the dining room, and then we have you can have room service also, and we have a lounge, our panorama lounge. At the front of that lounge, we also can do our early riser breakfast there. So we have a few different options for breakfast. And then lunch, we always have in the dining room, and it's a buffet under normal circumstances. As I said, we'll be doing something different under these COVID circumstances. And then we have in the same forward part of that lounge, we have a buffet option there too. Or we have an incredible built-in grill up on our sky deck, and we're able to offer lunch there as well. So we have a few different venues. And then dinner is always in the dining room, plated. And then we also have in that panorama bistro, that front part of the panorama lounge, we can do a buffet there. So it's more of, that's usually for people who just want kind of a quiet, different venue, smaller plates. Maybe when we're in port, they want to get out and go out and have a quicker dinner, so they can go out in port and walk around a little bit more. So we have lots of different options.
So
Hi, Janine.
I don't shift time often when I'm in Europe because I still do business back here. So I wander around the ship, which I love to do, by the way. It's not a complaint. So can I sit out on the top deck like at night and just enjoy the stars and listen to the smaller city that we're parked in and just kind of hang out? Or
Oh, absolutely.
okay, so it's like any kind of big cruise ship. I'm free to wander around and sit in a chair and
yeah, absolutely. And the way that our ships are built, we do have to close. So one thing about river cruising is there are occasions where we have to close the top deck when we're sailing, because river cruise ships. We didn't talk really about the design, so I started talking about
last week. He just learned that there's reasons that they're built close to the water.
So there are these old bridges that are gorgeous old bridges in Europe, and then the locks that we travel through. So ships can only be a certain height and width in order to go through the locks and underneath the bridges. So it's pretty incredible engineering when you go on a river cruise ship and you see that our bridge exactly lowers down. Our crew go out and they lower the railings, they put all the furniture away. I mean, it's a huge amount of work to go underneath some of these bridges. Not all bridges. It's really fun to sit out as you go underneath a bridge, if it's a tall enough bridge, of course. But we built our ships. It's called a 2.5 deck ship, which you're going, how do you have 2.5 decks? The front, it has 2 decks, and then the back has 3 decks. So it's 2 and then 3. And that allows us to keep the front portion of the ship open far more, because we can keep that part of the deck open. Even if we have to close the back because of low bridges, we can do that. So we typically have some portion of the deck open, but obviously, whenever it's unsafe for people to be outside, we close up. But when you say that when you're docked in port, they're always open in port. So you can always go up and enjoy that. And always just also you're sitting right now in your panorama suite. I see you put that up as your background and you can always do that too, anytime.
I'm on the ship right now. Your internet is fantastic.
That's right. So you can open that door 7 feet and just turn your entire stateroom into a balcony. And the beauty of our design and why it's so popular with our guests is because you can only be a certain width, as we talked about. So if you actually create an outdoor balcony on a river cruise ship, you're taking interior space from a stateroom. So anyone who has an outdoor balcony, it means that their interior space is smaller. So we really feel like we have blurred the inside and outside by doing. we've given our guests the best of both worlds, because it allows our guests to have a balcony when they want it. When they don't want it, they can close those doors, close the curtain, and have full use of their entire square footage of that room.
Pam, Sunny has asked, does Avalon have cruises where they overnight in certain cities? I mean, where do they cruise to?
So yes, we do, and Avalon sails predominantly in Europe, as I said, but we have cruises in Southeast Asia, in South America, and also in Egypt. So one of the things that we did a couple of years ago is we actually started putting in our brochure when we're overnighting in port, which it was always kind of a mystery about river cruising. River cruise lines, unlike ocean cruise lines, don't put their times in their brochures. And that's one of the things that people always say, how come you don't put the times that you're going to be in port? And it's because on the rivers, you have to be very flexible because of these locks, because of the currents, planning. We have a plan of when we're going to arrive, but we don't necessarily know that we can follow that 100%. So we don't necessarily publish our times that will be in port in advance, because obviously if you publish it and then you don't hit those times, you're going to disappoint people. So you're better off to not publish it and have it plan in your head and meet or exceed that plan when you can, and adjust for it when you can't. So, but what we did do is we put in our brochure when we overnight in port, because that's really important to a lot of people. So that was a good question that you asked. If it's fun to overnight in port, and it's fun to go and experience the nightlife in a city. And so we do that quite a lot in Europe, and you can see that in any itinerary that you're looking at. If that's something that you're really interested in, our active and discovery cruises would be one to take a look at, especially if that also is interesting to you, being active, or the discovery aspect of it, or things like painting classes, cooking classes, things, going and meeting with a vintner, all sorts of things like that. If those kind of things are appealing, those stay in port overnight quite a lot as well.
Chili.
I was going to ask active and discovery cruises.
Oh,
I'm like, if you want to go kayak,
yeah,
you've got something for kayakers.
We do. So our active and discovery cruises, we have cruises on the Danube, the Rhine, the Rhone in southern France, and also in that's not me kayaking.
No, it's not. We'll talk about that in a minute.
And it's not on a river cruise, I don't think. It looks like it was in Italy.
That was in Venice.
That was Sue in Venice.
And let's see. Oh, we also just added one in Belgium and Holland. So we do have kayaking. So we have kayaking in France on the Ardèche. We have kayaking on our new Holland and Belgium. We have canoeing on the Danube, which is super fun. I've done that a few times. We have tons of bicycling trips, hikes. The discovery, I already kind of talked a lot about, I guess, all the different discovery, and they're fantastic. So there's Bethany chiming in and telling us she agrees. So I saw a question about the Nile, but I'm sorry I missed it. Oh, there it is.
Before I come back to you, Chili, sorry, just go through this quickly because I'm getting so many questions. It's fantastic. Alison has said, looking to sell the Nile in 2022. Wow. That would be a dream river cruise for me as well. When's the best time to go? And are excursions included?
So yes, the excursions are included. That's another difference between ocean and river cruising, as we talk through, and I shouldn't say across the board, but most river cruise lines include excursions. So certainly, check with the river cruise line that you're looking at. But with Avalon, yes, the excursions are included in general. There are always a few that are extra, but we always include excursions. And then best time to go is typically in the first quarter and the last quarter of the year. I mean, you probably wouldn't want to go in the summer, and we don't offer cruises in the summer. So when we're offering cruises is the best time to go.
Gretchen has asked,
we've built it around that.
Gretchen's asked, should be very interested in the back and forth from Paris.
So yes, the cruise on the Seine, is that the one that Gretchen's maybe talking about, going up to Normandy, which is a beautiful itinerary. And lots of people think about that one only for the history of going up to Normandy and seeing the landing beaches, which is a highlight, but it goes far beyond that. It also goes, there's tons of art involved. There's lots of Van Gogh, there's going to Monet's, to Giverny and seeing that, tons of food with the Normandy see the Normandy region, the cheese and butter and the Calvados. I mean, tons. It's everything is there. But that day going to Normandy and to the landing beaches is pretty touching for most people. It's an amazing experience.
Now, again, from my being dumb
Okay.
about river cruising, which I admit, my thought of river cruising is they're long, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14 days. You also do some short cruises.
We do, yeah, and that's very unique to Avalon, actually. Not many river cruise lines do that. So we have cruises as short as 3 nights, so 4 days. The Taste of the Danube cruise, that was our first kind of entry into these shorter cruises, and you can see 3 world capitals in 3 nights. So sailing between Budapest and Vienna and Bratislava, if you're wondering what the 3rd world capital would be in those 3 nights. Now, is it realistic that from North America, at least, that many people go and do just that cruise? No. From the UK, for sure, plenty of people do just that cruise as a little getaway. But from North America, it's great if you want to build a bigger trip around it, and stay in hotels and do another cruise along with it, whatever it may be.
Maybe a Globus trip, perhaps.
Yeah, and that's a great segue into that. And that's another thing that, as being part of the Globus family of brands, we have built around tons of land options with our cruises to allow for that. So we have 6 different cruises that are under 6 nights. Most people do go on a 7-night cruise, so the majority of our rotations are 7-night cruises. We also have up to 27 nights, I think, is the longest.
Oh, wow.
I should know that off the top of my head. It's either 23 or 27, so don't quote me for sure. But yeah, you can go all the way from Amsterdam down to the Black Sea. So that's our longest cruise.
And Pam, Margaret has just asked, and I have to ask, being cruises for solos, do you do deals for solos? How does it work if you're a solo cruiser and you're looking to cruise river cruises? And are you looking maybe to book more solos because of the situation at the moment where people social distancing?
So that's a great question, both of those questions. So deals for solos, absolutely. We have the best promo that we have, I would say, is for solo travelers. So our single supplement is typically 55%. So we're not 100%, which is really good. A lot of cruise lines, it is 100%. Ours is 55%. But what we do offer is on every single cruise, we waive that single supplement for a certain number of cabins. And it is managed. It's a limited number, but we do waive it across every single cruise. So it's the most popular offer that we have, as you can imagine. But you can see it on our website. When you're going and looking at dates and prices, you can see solo travel waiver, I think is what it says exactly. I should know that, but you can see it. It's very clear when it's available, and then you can pick that sailing. And the beautiful part of this waiver is it's not only on the the small cabins. We don't have any bad cabins, so that's the good news. It's not only on the cabins that don't have that window. So lots of people say, "Oh, if I'm a single, I'm going to get bad cabin." We don't have any bad cabins. Not to get that. We designate single cabins that are bad and small. We have our staterooms, which are our waterline rooms, which are fantastic also. But 80% of our rooms are those panorama suites, and we offer our no single supplement on those cabins as well. So you can get one in any category on board.
That's great, Pam, because a lot of members in my group, and some of them don't fly. So they're looking to, the European river cruising they can do. They're saying that they can take the train without having to fly and then have the no solar supplement. That's wonderful. I really do.
Fantastic.
I think that's fantastic. Yeah.
So, you also asked the question about if we're looking to have more solos based on social distancing. So our ships, we at this point we do have it to where we can operate with social distancing with the full complement on board. So, not necessarily to answer that question, but we are looking to have more solos just because I think that that river cruising is really great for solo travelers. And I actually have been on most cruises that I've done as a solo. And I've never felt lonely or alone and bored. You meet so many people on a river cruise, and it's a really wonderful way to travel as a solo traveler. The size of our ships, I mentioned, on the Mekong, it's only 36 passengers maximum. In Europe, 128 or 166 maximum. So you meet people. And with the excursions included, you really do meet a lot of people, especially when there are choices of excursions and there are things that are, you'll find people that are doing the same type of things because that's what they like. So I happen to like hiking, and so I go on the hikes. And so it's the same people that do that. And so, hi, Nancy. Nancy and I used to work together years ago. and so it's one of those things that, you'll find your crew of people on board, and they'll become your go-to group on the ship. And it really is a great way for solos to travel.
If you were for your first riverboat cruise, would you pick it for destination or boat?
Oh, well, for us, for sure, destination, because all of ours are exactly the same. All of our ships are identical.
You have sizes, so there must be a little bit more fun or a little bit more food or a little bit more something on one boat or the other.
More cabins on one than the other. That's about it. So there's no cabins. So it's basically just a little bit shrunken version of the other one.
Okay.
We started building our panorama class ships in 2011. So 2021 is the 10th anniversary of them. If you went on one that was 10 years old, you would say, this is 10 years old, looks brand new, because that's another big difference of river cruising, is that we take the winter off every year pretty much. We have a few months off, and so our ships can be maintained to look brand new every year. So I will go on a ship that's 8 years old and not be able to tell the difference between it and the Envision, which is our brand new ship from 2020. So, in terms of choosing by ship, they all look exactly the same. And so that's another thing Avalon guests love about us, is that they come on board and they know where everything is and they feel right at home.
Pam?
Yes.
Chili, myself and John, we have a challenge for you, yeah?
Okay.
I reckon we can beat you.
Oh, boy. Uh-oh.
Now, just to explain it, Pam, you race the boat, yeah, from one port to another. Now, I reckon you have bikes on board your ships, yeah?
We do.
I reckon John, Chili, and myself, we can race you to the next port. What do you think, guys?
Okay, we're on. Next time we'll go on a cruise together and we'll do it. No?
Dead.
That's a challenge. I think,
is there a betting line on us?
100 to 1 against.
I'm not sure where we'd all end up, guys. We'd probably end up in different parts of the country.
I want to get one of those Lance. What's his name? Lance
Armstrong.
I want to get one of those bicycles that's got the hidden motor in the transmission.
We actually have some of those too on board. We do have some e-bikes. So that was not an e-bike. That was a regular one, I'm sure. But we have bikes on all of our ships. If any of our operations staff are listening, they hate it when I tell this story. So Randy, who just posted she wants to travel solo on Avalon. She's my best friend, and she has a husband. So the fact that she wants to travel solo on Avalon is not a good sign, Randy.
Love it.
Randy's husband, come with the boys. The three amigos will become the quad amigos. It's fun.
There we go, guys.
Yeah.
So let's see. So my operations people hate it when I tell the story because they don't want me to encourage our guests to do this, but you can do this. And this is a fun thing about river cruising, is that we sometimes go to one port in the morning and then a different port in the afternoon or evening. So, this story and this picture in the Danube is in the Wachau Valley. And I love that bike ride through the Wachau Valley. You can see why. The beautiful vineyards, and you're biking along the river. A huge portion of the ride, and it's really a beautiful ride. So that morning I had chosen to go to a place called Windsor Krems, which is a winery in Krems, Austria instead. And when I got back to the ship, I was kind of whining to the captain that I I missed going on the bike ride. And he said, well, you still can. We're going to Schwitz. So just grab a bike. I'll grab you a bike. You go change and you can race us there. And so that was the story of me racing the ship, was that I raced because the captain told me to race the ship there. And so I raced the ship, and it was very comforting. I could see the ship the whole way there, and I knew that I wasn't going to get left behind, but it was a lot of fun. And I've done that more than once, where the ship goes, and this one was a little bit of a tight turnaround, but quite often, you have the whole, because it was just literally a pickup in Spitz for people who had been on another excursion, but quite often the ship's staying for hours in the next port. So you can easily do this and we'll do picnic lunches for our guests. So you can take a bike and a picnic lunch and go. We even have picnic blankets on board. You can go and, relax in that vineyard, have lunch, and then join the ship later.
You put my fat butt on a bicycle, it'd end up with 2 flat tires, and I'd be stuck in France someplace.
Well, Gretchen wants to see you in bike pants. Apparently, you've got a fan here.
That's a challenge.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Me in bike pants, that would be a trip.
I got it figured out, Chili. We'll find an Uber with bike racks on the back.
Okay.
No,
I've got
the ship leaves. We call the Uber. We put the bikes on it. Where are you guys been? We've been waiting. What, we had wine, we had cheese, and you're still not here. We got it. Look at that.
I see you had a drink there, Pam.
I do. So mine does not look quite as. Whoops, I got the wrong side here. I do have my popcorn floating in there. So yes, I do have a drink here. It's a cinema espresso martini, and there's a story there too. And the first time I had one was actually made by that exact gentleman. He made me my first one, but he is not our celebrity mixologist. He's one of our bartenders, our head bartenders on our ships. But we hired last year a man named Martin Hudak, who is from Slovakia. He kind of gained his fame working at the American bar at the Savoy Hotel in London. So I don't know if you've probably been there, Peter, or others know of it. It's a pretty famous place. And we hired him to redo our bar menu. And he did a great job coming up with and kind of elevating all of these well-known drinks. So he took the espresso martini and elevated it. And so I mixed myself one today because this is my favorite of the drinks that he did on our bar menu. And I also love the story that's under it. It says that so this is in our bar menu, the story behind the espresso martini is that in the 80s, a supermodel walked into a bar in London and asked for a drink that would wake her up and mess her up, and the espresso martini was invented. So I think it's a great story. And since I have to go to the grocery store still this afternoon, I thought that I better have a drink that kept me awake still for the afternoon. So that's why I have the espresso martini. So yeah.
Cheers to Bethany.
And
Yeah,
we have a great barman on board. We do happy hour every evening where drinks are half price. So I've told the story where I go off. I had a 1 week bar tab of 11 euros the last time I was on board because I had Prosecco every night before dinner, and wine and beer is included with lunch and dinner. So that's another difference between river and ocean cruising. So if you have a cocktail before dinner and then your wine or beer with dinner and with lunch, and we even have sparkling wine included at breakfast, you can, it's pretty much all inclusive.
Back in the day, I used to budget $1,000 for my bar bill for a week.
That's impressive. My 11 euros just sounded pretty pitiful.
Excuse me.
How do I ask this? Are there multiple bars on your ships?
There's only
or is it just one bar?
One bar, the Panorama Lounge. So, but that bar services the sky deck as well. So, John had asked about just going up and hanging out on the sky deck, and you can do that and enjoy a drink up there. Last 2 years ago, when I was in Paris and we were waiting for the waiting for the lights to come on in the Eiffel Tower, because we actually have this amazing docking position in Paris where you can see the Eiffel Tower from where we're docked. So we were sitting up there waiting for the light show at the Eiffel Tower, having champagne on deck, waiting for that. So you can always get drinks. They'll come up and kind of do a spin of the sky deck, see if anybody's there and needs a drink. So they service multiple areas of the ship from that one bar.
All right, back in the background here, Tina Turtle is whispering in my ear. She wants me to ask you about the turtles in the Galapagos Islands.
Okay. Well, so there are the huge land tortoises, and there are also ocean turtles, but I'm not an expert on them, so I don't know that I can go that much further than that. So we go to the Charles Darwin Center in the Galapagos to see those huge land tortoises, which live for over 100 years. And so that's the one thing that I can tell you from my trip there that I remember really well. And then, snorkeling with the turtles. The other amazing thing about snorkeling in the Galapagos is the sea lions, and baby sea lions coming up right underneath your belly as you're snorkeling and blowing bubbles in your face, and snorkeling with penguins. I mean, it's an incredible, it's cold water compared to Caribbean snorkeling or anything like that, but it's some of the most incredible snorkeling I've ever done in my life.
So I have to ask this. Are there any way to handle mobility issues for passengers on your ships?
Sure. So yes, there are to a certain extent. So across river cruising, the one thing that can't be handled is somebody who's totally wheelchair bound, and I'll explain why. That's because our muster stations are up on our sky deck. So I already told the story of the fact that when we go under the bridges, we have to lower everything on the sky deck. And so that means that obviously you can't have an elevator that goes all the way up to that level because it can't be lowered. You can't have, the shaft of the elevator up there because it wouldn't be able to be lowered. So you have to be able to climb up to those few stairs up to the sky deck in order to take a river cruise. And that's pretty standard across all river cruise lines. Otherwise, if you are mostly in a wheelchair, but you can walk. People come on river cruises all the time in wheelchairs, and we do have an elevator on board that that goes to every other deck other than the sky deck. But the muster stations, in case, in the unlikely event of an emergency, what you do is you go up to the sky deck, and that's above waterline. So if something were to happen and the ship were to go down to the ground level, you'd actually be above water by standing on the sky deck. So,
do you think the day will come in river cruising, like Royal Caribbean is starting the e-muster drill, where you go watch it on the TV or watch it on your phone, and then I think you have to go to your muster station to get tested or something?
The key word today is spinnaker.
Yeah. But do you think that's a possibility for river cruising?
It's something that we're talking about. Our version of a life, that safety drill is totally different than on ocean cruising anyway. It's a much faster process. The safety talk is done in our lounge. So everybody's not standing out on the deck for long periods of time. It's done in the lounge. You go out on deck just to give your name and put on a life jacket. The life jackets are stored up on the deck, which is a difference. A lot of ocean ships still have them in the stateroom, I know. So really, it's not as big of an issue for us, but under these circumstances, we do recognize that would be a challenge for social distancing. So we're talking about, do we do multiple versions of it? Do we do this e-muster potentially? We show the video in our stateroom already. So if somebody just watched that video and then, as you said, could come up and tell you what today's key word was, so that they learned from the video, and we checked off that they knew where to come. That
I've got a couple of questions.
Would that satisfy the requirements for having a safety drill? So we are talking about it.
I've got a couple of questions, Pam.
Hmm.
It seems, because as I said, John hasn't been on a river cruise. I haven't been on a river cruise. Chili hasn't been on a river cruise. One of the big things that I see about river cruising, from a layman's point of view, excursions. They seem to be a big part of river cruising. Can you tell us about your excursions that you do? And also, can you explain this?
I can. Isn't that a normal outfit that you all wear when you go cruising? I don't.
I can't tell if you're drinking wine or trying to be a coal miner.
It's a combination of the two.
I put one of those on one day, and 5 guys tried to track me down. They thought I was a cab. So I took it for a ride.
So you have touched on another difference between river and ocean cruising, and that is river cruising is totally destination focused. So river is all about the places you're going. In ocean cruising, the guests are going quite often for the ship itself is the experience. They have racetracks, they have ice skating rinks, all of these things. We don't have that on the river. What we have is the destination. So that's why the excursions are included. That one that you just showed the photo of is by far one of my favorites. It takes place in the Ardèche on the Rhone River, and I just did this last summer. And it's an excursion where you hike into a cave and then taste wine there. So I was doing both. I wasn't coal mining, but definitely cave exploring. And it was kind of a funny story because they put us in these outfits and they put the helmets on us, and we walked down the steps into the cave with all of these people in their regular clothes. And I thought, well, why in the hell are we in these outfits when everyone else is just in their normal clothes? Like, what was the reason that they made us dress up like this? Is this just for show? What's the story? Well, when we got to the bottom of the steps of the cave and the platform where all the tourists were standing, they lift up the ropes, and a cave guide was waiting for us, and we got to go past the ropes of the cave and hike about and it wasn't a challenging hike. It was a walk about a mile into the cave, which was pretty cool to do that. And so we did need those outfits and the headlamps to be able to see because it got really dark. And a couple, partway into the cave, we could see these wine barrels there, and we met this the winemaker there, and he told us that he visited this cave I think it was 10 years ago with his children, and he said that this would be the perfect place to age his wine. And so he went through all the process of getting the permits to be able to age his wine in this cave. And so he joined us and took us, when we got to the end of the cave, they had a bar set up, and they explained why wine tasting in this cave was so perfect, because there are no outside scents and no senses in general, along with no smells you couldn't see. So we had no clue if we were tasting a red wine or a white wine. So that we turned off our lamps and we sat in a circle, and they poured us wine, and we got to taste and experience the wine in complete darkness and with no exterior sense. It was a pretty incredible experience. It was a really fun experience. And that's included. This is no extra cost. This is an included excursion with Avalon.
Wow, that's fantastic. I've got a comment here. Janine. Great show. Thank you, Janine.
Yeah, thanks.
Looking forward to rescheduling my active and discovery cruise onto the Rhone 2021. I want to go on that excursion.
We're looking forward to having you there too, Janine. And I really enjoyed. I actually watched your show last week, and I posted on Facebook today, wish me luck, and that was mostly because they talked about your knickers last week, so I was a little bit worried coming on the show today, but it turns out it's okay.
Sorry, I'm so sorry, Janine. I'm so sorry.
I did not ask you about your knickers, Pam.
I know. Luckily, I didn't send a photo of my knickers, so I was really trying to avoid that topic.
Maybe that's a requirement to get on the show. Maybe that's a check.
Maybe I better put that on the list for next week.
Yeah. Especially with us with our bicycle pants as well.
Yeah, we were close.
It's going down that way, isn't it? Another photograph you sent me this.
Oh Oh yes, I
Pam.
did. That is my friend Nabil, and he's everyone's friend who's ever been to his cooking class. This man's amazing. He's in Vienna at a cooking school called Andante, and
And I guess
oh yes, what were you going to? Somebody had a comment. Was that you, John?
no, I don't comment. But is it
So
fish inside of a puff pastry?
it's actually not. It's just a very badly rolled apple strudel because I think I was the one who rolled it. So if we do an excursion where you go there and you make the Vienna rolls, which are those round folded rolls. And I had no intention of going to the cooking class that next day, but after I met Nabil learned every person's name who was there making those rolls. We were there for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes making the rolls. Must have been longer. There was long enough for them to bake, and then we took them back to the ship, which I suspect doesn't happen anymore under COVID. So hopefully, someday that'll be back because that was really special. Bethany knows Nabil too. He's an amazing guy. And so I, of course, signed up for the cooking class the next day and went back and made schnitzel, which I had never had schnitzel before. Because I was anti-veal, but he told me he swore to me that this was humanely raised veal, and so I tried it, and we made the strudel that you see there, and he is just a character and a half, and it was a really fun class. So those are the kind of discovery excursions that I talked about.
Speaking of classes, sorry guys, speaking of classes, you sent me this as well.
Yes, so this is on the Mekong, which is this is by far one of my favorite cruises, and this is one of my favorite experiences there. And with only 36 guests, we can do some pretty cool things on the Mekong. You go into these little villages along the river in Cambodia and in Vietnam, and with a maximum of 36 people, you're not overwhelming any village, obviously. And that's a school in Kampong Cham that we visit, and it's not an actual school, it's an after school program, I should say, because these kids come to learn English, and the teacher there, we met him, and he wants Americans to come, or native English speakers, I should say, to come and practice English with the kids. And so we have our going there every week and practicing English. And I first went there probably about 10 years ago now, that when we started our cruises on the Mekong, and just seeing, the generosity of our guests, because our guests have donated quite a bit to this school. The school itself has changed a lot. It's now 2 classrooms instead of 1, and has a floor. It was a dirt floor when we started going, has fans, has all sorts of amenities, thanks to the generosity of our guests who want to help these kids. And most importantly, the English of the students has improved so much from practicing with native speakers every week. So that's a really fantastic excursion, and just one of the experiences that's part of that trip.
You guys have also been involved with some environmental issues on cleaning the ocean.
We have. So now I could talk for an hour, and I know I don't have an hour about just in general about sustainability. And so the ocean cleanup is a partner of ours that we made the decision to eliminate paper documents, and instead of just keeping that money by not producing paper documents. And I should say that we started by offering our guests the choice of taking paper documents, where we printed them and shipped them to them, or doing electronic. And if they did electronic, that we would make a donation on their behalf to the ocean cleanup. So we didn't just keep the money, we made a donation. And we had the majority of our guests choosing to do the electronic documents. So we made the decision just to do it and shift 100% to electronic documents. And we are making a donation to Ocean Cleanup on their behalf. So on behalf of all of our guests. And Ocean Cleanup, if people are not familiar with Ocean Cleanup, this is an incredible young man who's from the Netherlands, who invented this boom system. It went through several rounds of testing, and the latest is that it is working, and his goal is to clean up, or the organization's goal is to clean up the Great Pacific Garbage Patch by the end of 5 years of doing this cleanup. And so he'll be able to, people love those donuts. Emma, you're right. I try to avoid them, but the donuts, one of the people in our New Zealand office, every time she's on board, they bring her 8 donuts to take home because she loves those donuts so much. They are pretty good. So, so the ocean cleanup. So the other cool thing that this man just invented is something called the interceptor. So the reality is that the majority of the plastic that comes into the ocean comes from just a few rivers around the world. And so he invented something that you can put at the mouth of the river and it collects the plastic before it goes into the ocean. And this was just unveiled at an event that I was lucky enough to go to in Rotterdam last fall. And the goal is to put these at the mouths of those rivers that are the key polluters, and then the oceans won't have plastic in them. So we really want to support ocean cleanup, and we encourage anyone else, who cares about that. And then, as Bethany just pointed out about the reusable bottles, we have shifted to be 100% plastic free. So that was something that you saw for the first time on the Mekong last year, to have a reusable water bottle instead of all the individual plastic bottles. And we have shifted that across our entire fleet. So we installed water filling stations, and in Europe, it's a system called a Be Well station, and so it does both still and sparkling water, and even some vitamin infused water. So it's really a fun alternative, even so you won't ever even miss having that bottled water.
I got to ask one other question about the difference between river cruising in Europe and your other locations, but primarily Europe, and the starting up of river cruising in the States. What's the differences?
So I have only been, unfortunately, on one night of a river cruise in the U.S. So I don't know that I'm an expert on river cruising in the U.S. We don't do it as a product. I tried to go on a few nights of one, and unfortunately, because of, I don't remember if it was weather or what it was, but the ship couldn't sail. So I ended up driving to a port and staying there for the night just to be on the ship. So I am no expert by any means of river cruising in the States. But I believe it's pretty similar, quite honestly, in terms of the product, in terms of being inclusive, with wine and beer being included, being, pretty destination focused, with excursions being included. The ships are larger in the U.S. Because they are not, they aren't going through locks in general, and not going under these short bridges. So the ships are quite a bit larger. The ship I was on, I think, was about 300 and something guests, so quite a bit larger overall. So, those are the differences that I can say as keys. Oh, yes.
Sorry, Chili, because we are running out of time. Can you believe it? The envision christening, yeah? Yeah.
So that was, I think that's a really happy photo to kind of get close to ending on. So that's our latest ship. We also have a ship, the View, that was supposed to be christened this year, with Meredith Vieira as our godmother, which I think is kind of fun with the name The View. But the Envision, Elizabeth Gilbert, who is the author of Eat, Pray, Love, that's the lady there at the far left of the photo, was our godmother for that ship, is our godmother of that ship, I should say. Such a fun and lovely person. When we asked her, we thought it was a stretch because she's pretty famous, and her response was, well, can I bring my parents? And of course our answer was yes, you can bring your parents. And she's just so lovely. And I think that photo is just such a great image that explains Avalon, because it's, I talked a lot about our hardware, and our hardware is, really what people buy based on coming with us. But the feeling on board is what brings them back over and over, and the hardware. They love that room. But, we made up a word called relaxed luxury, and I think that really explains it well. It's not a lesser level of luxury. It's just a different kind of luxury. You don't have to dress up. There's no butler standing over you with white gloves, making you feel awkward, but you have incredible service, crew with a smile. And that photo, we have a new tagline of happiness flows, and I think that photo just really brings it to life. And that is the kind of fun that we're looking to bring to life.
Relaxed luxury. Chili.
Yeah.
I hate to do this, guys, but we've come to the end of our hour.
No, we can't.
Pam.
Wait, Chili. She's
Yes.
got to run through all the different brands and what they do. I want to hear them all so that we have them.
Okay, a quick encapsulation of your brands.
Okay, so to end it on that, so we have Globus, which is a touring brand. So, motor coach touring all over the world. We also have Cosmos, which is a little bit more of a value-oriented motor coach touring all over the world. Monograms is our independent brand with city stays and multi-cities all over the world. And Avalon, our river and small ship cruising brand. And we would love to, if anybody has any questions, go see your travel advisor. They know our brands well. If they tell you to go somewhere else, you'll direct them back. No, I'm just kidding. The reality is, our brand may not be perfect for you. Everybody's got a style that's going to fit them. We want people to find the brand that's right for them, and a travel advisor can help you with that. Or reach out. We have offices in all of the English-speaking countries in the world, as I said. So reach out to your travel advisor or reach out to one of our offices. We'd love to follow up with you. So thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun, and I really appreciate being asked to join you today.
Thank you.
I can just say, Pam, this has been absolutely wonderful for me, and I know for Pete and John as well. We certainly appreciate this. And to all you guys that have been out there with all the questions today and the comments and the conversations that's been going on in chat, that's awesome. And we certainly do appreciate all of y'all being with us.
Yes,
We'll
absolutely.
see you again next Sunday.
Bye, everyone.
Same time, same
Bye.
place.
Bye.
Goodbye, y'all.